All right, you magical creatures. All right, back from the dead. Like, how many other people do you know that can fall like 50 feet, like head first under a rock and survive? The great Mark Puttenvink did.
Yeah. I only got an 8.5 on it though.
All right, buddy. I apologize. Yeah, Mark was gone on a little vacation where he tried to break a rock in half with his head.
Yeah.
And see, most people would look at it that Mark tried to hurt himself. The reality was he was trying to hurt the rock. So just so you know, he went on a little vacation in North Carolina.
Yeah, Smoky Mountains.
With his beautiful woman, Beth. Yeah. And they were going for a beautiful hike and a nice day. Yeah. And he went to step on a rock that he thought, because the water was clear, he thought the rock was dry. It was not dry. It was wet, therefore propelling him downward onto another.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go through a few things. So you're walking along, beautiful day.
Gorgeous.
Yep. And all of a sudden, like, there's that first instinct where you realize, okay, I'm going down.
Be bad.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt.
Right. It is funny, right? Like, and you think there's nothing to grab onto. Like,
and you know, when you land, you go, oh, that sucked.
Yeah.
Then you get up and then you realize, first of all, I realized I'm in the middle of the stream. I'm soaking wet. My pamper's soaked. And, you know, my left shoulder, which took about 20 years of rehab to finally feel pretty good. That got drove up. And then, of course, I cracked the rib and everything.
And then how about the ego too, right? The ego now is.
Well, no, you know, here's how you and I and most of the idiots like us will do. We get up like nothing happened. Like,
I know.
Fine. Meanwhile, on the inside, I'm going, oh my God, that sucked.
Well, the thing for me is I seem to fall down when nobody else is around. So the initial reaction is to get up, look around to see who's looking. In your case there, you knew Beth was there. So there's no hiding.
Well, there were Beth. There were some animals I saw kind of chuckling. A couple of deer lined up. We're laughing. It was pretty bad.
Yeah. There's our buddy William Hayes, the magical veteran there.
Yes, sir.
And your new quarterback, what's his name in Chicago? The guy that paints his toenails and fingernails.
Oh, yeah. I saw that. Yeah. Is it Deshaun Watson?
No. Is it? Maybe it is. No. He was the first overall pick in the draft and they won. Apparently, I mean, he's a rookie. I think there's too much emphasis put on his play, but
yes, I'm not a Giants fan.
Oh,
I'll watch them if it's on, but I'm driving to the rink American Dream Mall to do something for the Warriors. And I knew the game was still on, but I saw all the traffic. I'm going, they must be getting smoked. Everybody's leaving early. Yeah.
Okay, so Caleb Williams. Thanks, Williams. Caleb Williams is quarterback there. Now, again, times are different. Mm-hmm. It's 2024. But here's the number one overall pick in the draft, the leader of the Chicago Bears, the future of the Chicago Bears. And he's putting fingernail polish on.
But I think the big story from football, I say, is the guy in Miami, Tyreek Hill, whatever his name.
Tyreek Hill? Yeah.
Yeah. A little encounter there on the way to the stadium.
So, I mean, I know there's bad cops, like there's bad everything else. Yeah. But there was like 3 or 4 of them. They're not going to throw him on the ground unless he's done something to, like.
Well, look, I didn't see the full video. No one knows. Maybe we'll never know. But I will say this. Generally, that doesn't happen if you're just pleasant.
Right.
We'll leave it at that.
So, okay. So and again, like you said, we don't know. He was speeding or doing something. He was coming into the Dolphins facility.
Yeah.
So they must have known he was a player, but he's probably speeding. And then he gives them the attitude like, hey, I'm Tyreek Hill. Now, again, maybe that's not true.
Yeah. But he does have a history of some domestic violence and things like that. But
does he?
You know what? People do change. So hopefully that's not the case here. But I mean, it happened. I know you're not a golf guy, but Scotty Scheffler, who's the number one player in the world. Yeah, for the PGA was a major event,
right? Or Masters or something. His Masters.
I was holding out to the door or something.
Yeah. All right. There's our boy Barry Shelley too. We're back to. He's fine. He did it on purpose. He wanted to see how tough he was. Still, that's what it was.
Some sympathy. Yeah. And I got 0.
Okay, but now either you delicately avoided the subject. Mm-hmm. Or you just moved on to something else. The fingernails being painted by Caleb Williams. Mm-hmm. So now again, it's 2024. So Mike Ditka or Dick Butkus were famous Chicago Bears, gritty guys.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think if they were in the locker room and they saw?
Well, it's 2024.
Yes.
So that's part of it. And you know what? Guess who we're talking about today?
we're talking about him. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
it keeps your name out there, and your name out there means dollars. I mean, because it's
Yeah. But he's a first overall. He shouldn't need that though. He's first overall pick. I'm with you, but it's first overall pick in the draft. So
yeah, I agree. Let your game speak for it. But it's just they all have an Instagram account. They all
yeah.
have, and I forget who I was talking to over the weekend about like coaching guys now at a professional level, and you and I are hockey guys. It's kind of hard to get their attention sometimes after a game when the first thing they're doing is running in to see their Instagram account and who's saying what about the last name, what they just played, stuff like that. So it's a different world. But yeah, I mean, look, the guys, if I was his coach, I'd say, hey, that's cool, but just let your game speak for yourself. And then,
yeah. So we have not done a show since the shooting in Georgia, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yeah.
So 14-year-old boy, and I know, so when these things happen, now the politicians turn to the gun debate.
Correct.
I'm assuming you're in the same boat I am.
Yeah.
Forget the gun debate. To me, it's more of the mental health issue.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's also, from a jurisdiction of law enforcement, you have to question. So the FBI did interview, they got some chatter, I guess, online, which is good. And they followed up. They visited the father and the son. The father assured them, hey, he has no access.
Yep.
And then they turned it over to local law enforcement, which is just, that's routine.
Right.
But what happened was the father then moved the family to another town, and there was no follow through with that information to the new school district.
Right.
So they didn't know. But you would think
even then, he hadn't done anything wrong at that point.
No,
right?
But you would just think, with what's going on now in this culture, there's a surprising stat I heard that since Columbine, so there's been unfortunately, a lot of school shootings. 50% of them have happened within the past 10 years.
Right.
So there's clearly some kind of mental health issue, social. Well, and also, Tom, and you and I talk about this all the time. Like, first time a kid acts out, they put on some kind of medication.
Yeah.
And, you just have to question the whole pharmaceuticals.
Well, and to you, here's some of the stories. Anyways, these are the stories that the mother was addicted to drugs, and she'd leave the kids outside. They'd be banging. The neighbors are saying the kids were banging on the door to get in. Yeah. So, but, I mean, all the things that get them. Yeah. And again, they used the word, and I like the police chief, I think it was, who did a press conference right after the incident and said how he was evil and all that kind of stuff. And you get that, the emotion. And I'm not trying to say we should have sympathy for the 14-year-old boy, or maybe we should, because again, he's almost a victim as well. Like
of course he's a 14. How does 14 years of life, of which maybe 4 of it, you're kind of aware of who you are, what you're even then. I mean, so the father apparently was not such a great guy either.
Yeah.
Apparently, he was talking to the kid about school shootings constantly. And you got to say, well, I mean, I never had a conversation with my boys about, we talked about everything but that. And it's not the gun. The gun doesn't do the shooting. It's a mental health issue. It's really, really to a point now where, it's scary because you don't know what's going on social media. You don't know what's going on. Like the video games too.
Yeah.
Like a 5-year-old kid is killing people.
Yeah.
It's a video game, but what it does, it kind of, I think, and I think some people in the mental health care industry agree that it desensitizes them to acting violent.
Yeah, like apparently when he was confronted by the school super, whatever it is, with a weapon, and he just gave in and said, yes, I did it, apparently right away. So it wasn't like it was, he didn't have a death wish. And
even if you look at Newtown, Connecticut, where that horrible, 22 children or something, the mother was in the mental health industry. She knew he had issues.
Yeah.
And she buys him a rifle for his birthday. I mean, so you got to say to yourself, who's really nuts here?
Yeah, I know. Isn't that true? It's like and probably like you and I have dealt in the mental health world. I got to say though, before, and I've said this before I got involved in the Sheldon Kennedy stuff and I'm doing all the True Grit Life, I would not have known either. I think it's just a lack of knowledge from most people out there because they just haven't had to deal with it. They don't understand the severity, how many young people in particular, not limited young people in particular though, are suffering some kind of mental health disorder. And we talk a lot about, like talking about it. And I know in theory that's true. You do need to talk about it, but it still is. And again, we're men. Yeah. So we'll speak to, I can't speak to how a woman feels about it, but for men, it still is, despite I know we should say to ourselves, yes, you need to talk about it. It's still a tough thing to talk about. I tell you, like,
Yeah, and so two things. Like you and I grew up in an era. I mean, you're a farm boy, so I would imagine just about every one of your friends had a rifle hanging on their bedroom
oh
wall.
yeah, yeah,
And I had one. I had
Yeah.
a 22 hanging there. But we didn't hear these things. It never happened.
Yeah.
And so we have to understand that it's pulling the gun out of it. Why are they doing this? And
yeah,
it's certainly it's at a crisis point. So whether it's that type of behavior or suicide, which
Yeah.
is, since COVID, female teenage suicide went up 50%.
is that right? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. What they did in my view, again, this is just my view, what they did to the kids with the COVID response was really a crime against humanity. Really screw these kids up tremendously.
Yeah. And this made headlines and everything as it should. 4 people were killed, 9 others were injured. But if you follow the news, like you
That's
look
the
at
first
Queens,
15 minutes any Saturday in Chicago.
yeah, we look at Queens and the Bronx just because you watch the local news here, and it seems like every day somebody's getting shot. And it's not just one person; it's multiple people getting shot.
We don't want to equivocate or do whataboutism, but it's true. I mean, the first knee-jerk reaction by certain people in the government is to say, okay, we got to ban this white rifle, that rifle. Hey, you know what? You know what's the most dangerous thing on the planet that's killed more people than rifles and has been around forever? Any type of edged weapon.
And tell you what?
Edged weapon,
Oh,
blade of some sort, have killed more humans in history than all the guns.
I know.
And you don't even have.
I looked it up. They said there's like over 6 million registered firearms in the country. Now, that's registered firearms. Obviously, there's probably the estimates are there's like 300 weapons in total, and those weapons, the vast majority, are not being used in any crimes or anything like that.
Yeah,
I also thought I looked up the stats on cars. So, other than places like maybe Wyoming or Montana, where there's unlimited speed limit or 75 or whatever it is, most of the places in the country, the maximum speed limit is 65 miles an hour.
Correct. Yeah.
But they sell cars that go 120 miles an hour.
Exactly. What's the point?
Yeah, you think, okay, and speed-related accidents, I think the number was 20,000 a year. So and that's a speed-related accident. So the theory is then that you limited the car to not go more than 65 miles an hour. You're eliminating speed related.
No, you're right. And
So
all the thinking goes, the logical thinking seems to go out the window quite often.
Yeah.
And because it's an emotional reaction. Yeah, you want to blame the gun.
Yeah.
And really, again, the gun doesn't operate by itself.
Right. And again, as we know, it's politics, it's money. I've done so. People think it's who was it? Was it Candace Owens was being interviewed, and she said, "If you're not a conspiracy theorist by now, you are not doing your homework," or some term like that she used. And it's like, and then the more you do your research, and it's public, like these publicly traded companies, we talked about it before, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. You start doing your research, and you look, okay, who owns McDonald's, Vanguard, BlackRock, they own majority of the stock, and who owns the farm, like Pfizer, BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard. And it's really interesting because when you're being told that, but then when you actually go do the research, it's about money, right? So,
there's a book out. I got to get it. I'm going to get it today. It's called Good Energy. It has to do with the food industry and how it's 1980, cigarette smoking started to really drop.
Yep.
So tobacco companies were, okay, what do we do here, guys?
Yeah.
So they went out, RJ Reynolds, and I forget the other tobacco company. They bought a whole bunch of ultra processed food businesses. Right. And that's when we see a rapid increase of all the related diabetes and obesity rates that we see now with the high fructose corn syrup and everything like that. And they use the same marketing tools that they use for cigarettes with this to get you addicted, essentially, to the food.
Oh, yeah.
And if you saw that Super Size Me where the guy ate nothing but McDonald's, he actually started to get physically and mentally, both physically and mentally addicted to McDonald's.
Right.
To the point where it was really hard to stop.
Didn't he die too?
Yeah, he did, and I don't think it was related to who knows. I mean, he did a lot of crazy stuff,
right?
And for good causes, but he did.
Okay, I need to do a brief public service announcement for my own mental health. So we have discussed several times about the dog situation in my complex. Okay. primarily surrounding the barking of said dogs.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, West Nile virus has become an issue in this area. And in a lot of places, they're spraying. A lot of boroughs in New York, they're spraying. So our complex, twice now in the last 2 months, I think it is, they put down pesticide.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so there's 2 women one in my building, one in the building behind my building, and they have 2 dogs. So they apparently have gone to management to say, I do not want any pesticides around because that's where I walk my dogs.
Right.
So they did not spray around my building at all with the pesticides. Now, part of me thinks, Tom, you're the old farm boy. Forget it. You get stung by a mosquito all the time. Move on. Eat some garlic, onion, whatever. It'll stay away. The other part of me is, this is not right.
Well, I would say it's not right in the sense that management should have thought this through a little bit.
Yeah.
And let people know this is what's going on. Here's one area we're not going to spray,
Right.
but it's not around where people live. So
Right.
walk your dog down there if it's a concern. There's also, I don't know about West Nile virus in particular, but like where we live, they do spray, but according to them, and again, you take it with a grain of salt,
Right.
that it's safe for animals.
Right.
Yeah. So who knows?
Well, they sent out a notice saying that you need to stay off the grass for 48 hours. So clearly this is not safe.
Yeah, exactly. And then do the same thing here.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, okay, so I'm gonna sue them. I'm gonna get West Nile virus, and I'm gonna sue. It's like,
Yeah.
and then,
And I don't know if you remember so you grew up in Canada, maybe it was different, but they used to come down. I lived on a dead end, and the lake was here, and the river was there. And they'd come down the street in the summertime, and they'd be fogging it with some kind of whatever this, and we'd run through it playing. Like they never, yeah. I'm surprised I don't have something sticking out of my head.
well, you do.
Well, that's beside the point. But anyway, get it? Beside the point.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. I didn't look first. I got.
But
Right.
yeah, so I mean,
I know. I think
again, going back to your conspiracy theories, they've been lying to us about everything all
I
along.
know.
Why are
I
they
know.
going to stop now?
I know. So I'm thinking, why? What am I worried about? I'm going to win the lottery. I'm going to redo my place. I'm going to get a big TV out my back deck. I'm going to get some nice Bose headphones.
Yeah.
Noise reduction.
And
So I can't
put
hear
up
the
a
dog.
big mosquito net, like they do
Yeah.
in Africa over the beds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wrap your deck around.
It isn't like garlic and stuff like that really good to keep mosquitoes away too.
Yeah, actually, so we give the dog it's like a powder to keep ticks off of her.
Yeah.
And it's like really strong garlic. I mean, when you
Oh.
open it up, you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
keeping me away too.
Keeps the women away too. Keeps me
Yeah.
out of trouble. Yeah.
Wish I knew that. There you go. Anyway.
I was going to get into a woman. I won't make any names. No. Woman I had seen years ago all of a sudden contacted me again. And I have this thing that women can do what they want. I'm not controlling anybody. But my kind of red flags are if a woman has really close male friends, that's just not something that I enjoy being part of. I say to them very clearly, you can do what you want to do. That's just not what I want. We can be friends.
That's
Right.
your choice, your
Right.
decision, rather.
So this woman contacted me after several years and said, I want you to save me, Tom. I see now why you don't want me to have male friends. Can you she lives out in Long Island. She's, let's do something crazy. Come and get me right now. It's like on a Friday night. And then, like I said, next day, can you help my daughter with this thing? So it's all of a sudden now I've become this come and do things for me guy. Ah, God.
Well, what was your response? I mean, my initial response, we go, I'd love to come out right now, but I'm in the middle of a series on Netflix. I'll get back to you.
I've gotten better at, I found in the past, whenever I respond and try to explain myself, now it becomes a back and forth.
Yeah, that's true too.
Right. And then
Just ignore it.
then there's something wrong with me. I'm whatever she decides I am. So I just don't respond at all. Because
So what I would also do, and you might want to try, I guess you didn't hear. And then like, whoa, what happened? Oh, I don't want to get into it.
Oh, you didn't hear? I can't tell you that.
Yeah, I can't tell you. Yeah.
Oh God, it's funny because in the past I'd be like, oh sure, yeah, what doop-a-doo, and I mean that's now like
Yeah.
there might be a pattern here. Like I'm
I'm starting to see like a mosaic.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's taken me 66 years to figure it out, but
Yeah, well, we are slow learners, Tom.
oh God, no kidding.
Yeah.
Let me see what is going on here. Tom, while you were gone, the Canadian government ordered engineers and conductors back to work because they were striking. I know.
Canada's a mess. What is Trudeau doing up there?
Well, oh man, there's a lot of people that they want to have a civil war up there. Like,
Yeah, because Nathan Parrott and he and I still we're very close friends, and he tells me what's going. I go, you got to be kidding me. He goes, no.
Yeah,
well, this is really happening here.
So people that don't know, up in Canada, like people think in the U.S. that we've kind of lost our rights and our privacy. It's worse in Canada. Like it's basically the government is like it's so involved.
Froze your bank accounts. The truckers, remember they froze their bank accounts.
Right. That's right.
I mean, that's a scary thought. You disagree, you don't want to agree with what they're doing, they shut your money off.
Well, and you know what I've learned too is, and only you know this, it's not just, okay, so it's that. Now it evolves into the next thing and the next.
Exactly. That's how it starts.
Right. It's now. I remember when I was an agent, maybe we told the story before, but so Bob Goodnow, I didn't like at all, although he did a lot of great things for the players when he first started, but he just, his way of doing things. So he had a thing, so they had developed this database online where you could, if you're negotiating a contract, it was great negotiating contracts. You'd get on, you'd do a search about the players that are similar statistics as your player, what they're making. So it's fantastic. And I remember them saying, like, but it's not mandatory. You don't have to use it. You don't have to use it. So what they would do was, if you didn't use it for a certain period of time, they would make you then contact them to try to like embarrass you. They would shut it off if you didn't use it for a certain amount of time. Right. Then you had to contact them to get it turned back on. Kind of like they were the boss. They were going to be in control, right?
Were they charging you for this, or was it free?
No, well, you pay to be an agent. There's an annual fee. I think
that part, but I mean, like for this particular.
No, this was all part of this is all part of the payment. But I mean, the thing was, they'd love to control it, so they have to turn you off. Then you have to contact them to get it turned back on. So even though you weren't forced to use it, it was kind of like their way of
begging.
Like, I would intentionally not use it for a certain amount of time, and then the day after, hey, I need to get on.
Yeah.
Oh.
Do you miss that part of the arbitration and going back and forth and with the gyms?
The contract negotiation was fun.
Yeah.
I didn't anticipate that was going to be as much fun. Where you have to, the preparation part of it. Yeah. Really understand. See, we're Draisaitl is it Draisaitl? No, up in Edmonton with Connor McDavid. Who's the other stud up there?
Oh, Draisaitl. Yeah.
Is it Draisaitl? Yeah.
Yeah.
He got like 14 million. So he's the highest paid player now. Wow.
Oh. Yeah. Had a great year until the playoffs started.
Yeah, I know, right? That's the difference to him and McDavid. Like McDavid really, he carried that team as far as they went. That's a good story. Will they ever win the cup there with those guys there? It's not their fault, but
I don't know. I mean, it's so hard, and actually this came up. I was watching something on ESPN or whatever. It's really becoming, and you and I have discussed this a lot about the taxes. And then they were showing actually NFL players, if they make just take $1 million, which is really not a lot of money in pro sports now, but they were just using it as an example.
Just sorry to interrupt. Just invite a veteran here. William, go ahead. Enjoy your train ride, you studly muffin.
You know what, Bill? When I come out, you and I are going to go to a Sox game.
There you go.
So
go ahead. Sorry.
No, well, they were just showing like if you made $1 million in Detroit playing for the Lions, or if you played for Sam. And they showed you the different, not the federal, but the state and local tax differences.
Right.
And some of it was really a lot of money.
Well, you see where who was it? Des Prescott or Dak Prescott?
Prescott, yeah.
Decided what $60 million a year in Texas, where there's no state tax.
Right.
So what was that like in New York? It's like 8% or whatever.
Well, it's more than that. I mean, New Jersey, I think, is 11%.
Okay, so let's use 10%. Let's use 10% as a number. So on $60 million, that's a $6 million savings.
That's a big hit.
Whew, man, that's a lot. That's what a lot of players make themselves. Yeah, wow.
So I mean, if you look at Nashville now, you look at Tampa and Florida, and even the Stars. They were all in the hunt this year, and none of those states have taxes. Carolina too.
Yeah,
Carolina.
Is that right? Carolina too?
Yeah,
wow.
There's no state income tax. So, you play for the Rangers.
Yeah.
You get taxed for everything.
Well, the city tax and everything. Yeah.
State tax, federal, state, and local city tax.
Yeah. Have we had a show since the Goodrow?
No, we have not. No.
Sad. Man.
Yeah, it hit New Jersey pretty hard because they were from here.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of kids I've coached over the years, and actually a couple I saw last night that played against either Johnny or Matt in the area when they were in high school or playing, travel hockey here. And on so many levels, Tom, I don't know if that sister ever gets married now. Can you imagine?
I know.
The poor girl.
And her fiance was a hockey player himself too, right?
He was, yeah. Or is.
Yeah.
And can you imagine, like, so the dad was the coach from when they were kids. He coached them all the way through. And then somebody to come up and say, hey, you
imagine getting that phone call. Oh my God.
It's really one of the sadder stories that I've heard in a long time.
So you think about two brothers together that were really close, obviously. And then the wedding the next day. Yeah. Oh God.
And Matt's the younger guy, Matt, his wife is pregnant.
Yeah, I know.
And Johnny's got 2 kids under 2 years of age.
I know.
Now, the driver, who hopefully he'll see the justice that he deserves, but he ruined his life. He ruined his wife's life. He ruined his kid's life. He ruined anybody in his family. I mean,
he's in the Army treating
Army
other
Reserve.
people.
He was a major.
Yeah.
And incidentally, not that there's any connection, but he was a financial officer in a treatment center for rehab. Right. So there's so much irony in that alone, but it just all the way around, it's a horrible.
Well, I got to tell you, it's kind of a side note a little bit. We've talked about this before. People's driving around here has just gotten, like, apparently he was trying to pass on the left. He passed one car. Yeah. There was another car that was moving over because into the middle of the road because he saw the Goudreaus.
The Goudreaus, yeah.
He didn't see the Goudreaus, pulled over to the right, and that's when it hit him. So it's like God, yeah.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, is life random? I mean, 30 seconds either way.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is that, again, alcohol is legal.
Oh, I know.
It's not regulated in terms of how much you can take. I mean, I can't even go buy Sudafed when my allergies kick up without having to show my driver's license and fill out a form. Like, come on, seriously? Again, this gets back almost to the gun thing. So what has that Sudafed thing done to prevent methamphetamine manufacturing? Yeah. Zero.
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, oh God. All right.
It's a sad state.
Yeah. Does the tax have to be paid from the opposing team playing against the home team players or not? So yes, they have duty days, I think they're called.
Yep.
But you get credited from your home state. So if you pay in Carolina for 2 days, then if you're living in New York or playing for the Rangers Islanders, you then get credited from the New York. So they're not double dipping, but so the people that make the money are the accountants.
I was just going to say, yeah, it keeps the accountants busy.
Yeah.
So I know Manitoba had a thing where if you played there, they prorated your salary and they tax you for that particular day.
Yeah. They're all going to make their money. Yeah. They're all going to make their money. All right, let's go quickly back to our New York Giants. So I'm a big Daniel Jones fan.
You are, I know.
Yes. So I look at Jared Goff for the Detroit Lions. Yeah. When they traded with LA for the Matthew Stafford was the stud guy, wanted to get out of Detroit, wasn't going to get a chance to win. So I viewed it that Jared Goff was kind of like a throw-in at the time. Right. Like they needed to get rid of him. Lions said, okay, we need a quarterback under center. So let's give us it. Because nobody thought he was going to be any good at that point, I don't think. So now good coaching with Dan Campbell. And now they built this guy up to the point now where he's arguably one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league now, Jared Goff. Yeah. So you get Daniel Jones, got all this skill, big guy, intelligence, seems like he's a great player, great work ethic. To me, he's got no confidence whatsoever. And to me, the guy I point the finger at is it Dable, the coach?
Yeah.
Now he's taken over the role of calling all the offensive plays. They look like they were like a high school team.
I think they put 6 points up yesterday. Right?
Yeah. I just thought he got schooled by the other guy, for the defensive coach for the for Minnesota.
Coaching football, you look at Belichick, right?
Yeah.
He knew how to get the best out of guys. When they were done, he got rid of them.
Right.
Like, think of how many wide receivers he went through.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And defensive backs as well. And you can't win. Well, you can't win with any player without everybody being great. But those are pretty important, cogs to your wheel. Your wide receivers give you give weapons to your quarterback, and the DBs can shut down a guy. I don't know.
I don't know. See, and then you see our Donald, Aaron, who's the quarterback
Aaron
for
Donald?
Aaron Donald? No.
I don't know. The kid, Sam Donald, the kid to play for the Jets?
Yeah. He played for the Jets. So he comes in with the Vikings yesterday and plays great. Right? The same guy out
in Geno Smith.
Yeah, in Seattle. Same thing. Yeah. Give the guy a chance, build him up, give him his confidence, help him with his game. I just like I watch. You watch Detroit. You watch now again. These are elite quarterbacks, but you watch Kansas City. You go back to Tom. They obviously earned it, but they also are giving the player. Listen, this is your team. You've got responsibility. Like they're just treating. I just think they're treating
We
Daniel.
believe in you. We believe in you. Therefore,
Right.
this is
I
your
think
team.
exactly. They're sending the message to Daniel Jones that they don't believe in him.
Right.
No. So
I mean, the psychology of it, and I'm sure as an agent, you've seen it time and time again. But I'll relate it to boxing. We were going to a pro fight, and Joe, my partner, my trainer, and I, the fighter's in the back, and he goes, I don't feel good about this. As soon as I heard that, second round, he got knocked out.
Yeah.
And he shouldn't have.
Yeah.
But because he had more talent, he was a stronger fighter, he was a better fighter. But he walked into the ring already done.
And you're right. I remember, like I've told a story many times. Herb Brooks, I've learned more and more from doing podcasts with other players how hard he was on other guys. But for me, he was fantastic. So he wanted me to be that good defensive player.
Right.
I'll never forget. He would come to me like if there's 30 seconds to go in a game, you've lost like probably 6 or 7 pounds in water because sweating it out, you're bleeding, you're hurting, everything, and we're killing a penalty and we're up by a goal. And now he would come to me and like literally kick me in the ass, and he'd say, "Tom, get the F out there."
Yeah.
So what he was saying to me was he didn't care. He didn't care how I was.
Yeah.
I believe in you. You're the guy. Get out there. And to me, my confidence was sky high when he did that. Yeah, it was.
Well, Ken Hitchcock, and I'll find it. I'll forward to it. He does about 45-minute talk about coaching today's player, but it really applies to coaching in general.
Mm.
And, so everybody has a different approach to it. But let's just say that you had a bad shift. You coughed it up and ended up in a net. So you know what you did.
Yeah.
You don't need to be reminded. However, you make a good play, and a way to get you back on track, when you make a good play, whatever it is, come back and tap you on the shoulder. Tom, I'm going to need you to do that again in the third period.
Sure. Yeah.
So, yeah, and that's, I think, a really good approach to take.
Yeah. Good. How do you like the beard?
I mean, it looks good. I mean,
pretty gray.
Yeah. I'm all gray there too.
What happened to that? I mean, geez.
Yeah. Time marches on.
I know. What it sucks.
I know.
Oh.
It can be, because men, we have such unfulfilled egos.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, we're never gonna age. I'm gonna be fine. And then you fall on a rock from 20 feet and you go,
Well, I told you the story. There's been 2 times now out in my parking lot here where, and one time was really funny because it was early in the morning. This lady was very nice. It was one of those days where it snowed, melt, and then froze again. Right. And we have the black, the asphalt.
Yeah,
parking lot. You can't see it.
Yeah.
And again, it's early in the morning, so it's still a little bit dark. And the one lady was out with her dog. She says, "Tom, now you need to be careful." She was very sweet. She said, "Be careful. There's ice over there." Of course, I'm Tom Laidlaw. I don't need to be careful. So I'm walking across, and I'm telling you, I would have landed right on my face, stuck my arm down, and stopped myself. I didn't land on my face. But you know what it is? Like it pops the shoulder up.
Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah.
Oh God,
yeah.
I was so black and blue. I think I popped my tricep muscle again. Though it was like
the one you had a problem with.
Yeah. And then the other one was last winter. There's a little hill, not a big hill, going down to my car, and it was one of those kind of wet snows. So I'm taking my time, thinking, okay, don't go too fast. But in the meantime, what I'm doing is I'm tamping down the snow and making it like ice. I don't realize.
Yeah.
So, oh, it's so embarrassing too. The worst one for me was a few years ago. Well, it's probably like maybe 15 years ago. I was leaving the New York Sports Club, and there's all these hedge fund guys and everything in there. They're kind of they're working out, but they're not really lifting hard or anything. So I'm always giving a hard time. Like, come on, I can smell your panties from here and all this kind of stuff. And they think it's funny. New York Ranger giving them a hard time. So I'd worked out. They had like 6 steps, concrete steps leaving the place. One of the rainy days, there was an overhang. The water's dripping down.
Yeah,
perfect scenario. Of course, I'm bebopping out the door. I'm not paying attention. Oh, and I flew. It was all those ones that, like, probably like you, where it's that like it seemed like an hour, but it's like 2 seconds.
It seems like you're in the air for a month.
Yeah, exactly. And I land, and I'm on the ground, and I'm going, oh God. And these guys are walking in. And the worst part was they were being nice to me. After I was a total jerk to them, they were being nice. It was made me. I'm like, get away from me. Don't be nice. Oh.
Well, so my son Sean, his freshman year of high school, they had the hockey dinner right at the end of the year. So it's in a hotel, and Beth and I are wearing a suit. Beth is dressed nice, and we're walking in, and you know how when you start to fall and you grab somebody to try and catch
Sure.
your balance? Well, so I'm headed straight head first to the sign that says like hockey dinner that way, whatever, wedding that way. And now it's both of us.
Right.
And I could feel the heat. I could see the guys like, what are you doing? And fortunately, that saved the day. She was able to pull the reins back on me.
Oh,
But yeah, it could have been. I mean, she goes, we just walked in. We didn't even get to the table yet. Yeah. So yeah.
this is an embarrassing one. So probably like about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I had a very attractive woman over at my place. And, she was much younger than I was. And I think she was kind of joking around. Oh, Tom, you're kind of old. And I said, I'll show you how old I am. So I go to pick her up. And like on a normal day, no problem picking her up. I don't know what it was. One of those, I don't know what it was. I'd not eaten. I was dehydrated, whatever it was. I was blacking out almost. Like,
Oh,
right, yeah. So I'm holding her, and I drop her on the floor. But I can't, like, when you're kind of like, whoa, what is like this and me?
yeah.
Like oblivious to, and she's bouncing off the floor.
I had to ask, did she come back or she just like, I'm out of here?
She did. She came back. And so I thought, okay. So
That's a good girl. Yeah.
oh God.
Well, I'm sure you've done this too, where you go in and get the puck and you get your stomach with the stick on the wall.
Oh God. Isn't that the worst, right? When you go to hit somebody and you knock the wind out of yourself, like that is the worst feeling.
And then again, you got to act like you're fine.
Oh yeah.
You can't let them know.
Yeah.
You can't let anybody know.
Let me tell you, come back to the
yeah.
Oh, I hit Lanny McDonald one time at Madison Square Garden. So I grew up watching Lanny play for the Leafs and everything. It's this legendary guy. And I think it was a rookie. So I think he's coming through the middle of the ice. I got to hit him. And he's solid too. And I hit him and knocked the wind out of me. But I was able to compose and get to the bench so nobody knew. But I hurt him. And I felt so bad because he was like this. He wasn't a dirty player, but I had to do it. Sure. And once I got myself back together, I went on the ice with him. I said, Lanny, they may even call him Mr. McDonald. I said, I'm so sorry. I had to hit you. I think he was kind of laughing about it at that point, that I was apologizing to him in the game.
Oh, yeah. There's a local kid here. I won't name him because I don't want to embarrass him, but he had played about 100 games in the NHL. He was with Boston, and we were playing exhibition game. And you know how, like, you just turn and you get cracked? And Mess received the pass, he turned, and the kid just leveled him. And I'm like, that's not going to be good. Couple 2 shifts later, boom, elbow. The kid was out cold.
Oh, it's not right.
Yeah.
How many times did you get knocked out? A few times boxing?
No, I mean, I never really got knocked out, but you get that white flash.
Right.
Where you go, oh, that sucked.
Yeah.
You get a little goofy. Yeah.
So here locally where I live, there's it's closed now, Westchester Hilton or Rytown Hilton. There was actually a murder there, and they had to change the name of it. But prior to that, they had a boxing match, and locally there's this local boxer. I'm still an agent and everything, so the guys came to me and said, listen, we really want you to help be his agent.
Right.
So they built him up like, here's what I've never seen a box before. I don't know boxing like you do. If it was now, I would have had you go up and see him. So we go to the boxing match. They announce that I'm there, and he gets up to box. 5 seconds into it, he gets just smoked, knocked, like one of those things where he got knocked out and he's going back. And he's I got up and left. I got up and
down in
but the funny thing is, I got up and left, and they said, like, well, do you want to represent him? No, I'm fine. I'm busy.
There's a lot of times in pro and amateur boxing, more pro, where you'll see a guy get hit and he's fine, and all of a sudden, they go over like a little bit of a delayed reaction.
Yeah.
But in general, it's pretty quick.
Yeah. Now, do you watch a lot of like the MMA fighting and all that stuff?
I mean, I'll watch it. I'm a casual fan of it, and I think I appreciate it more now that I started doing Filipino martial arts over the past few years, because it's it's elbows, it's a little bit of Muay Thai, it's grappling, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's But what's interesting, and at least to my observation, I think most of the fights, and maybe I'll get some heat on this, but are striking, where guys get knocked out.
Oh,
I think I'd have to look to see what the reality of it is, but I feel that it's more striking than it is, tapping guys out because you're choking them or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I saw our boy Sean Ryan, is he retired Navy SEAL? Is he Sean Ryan, the guy that does the podcast?
Oh, Sean. Yeah. He's
so he did an interview with a guy, and he was like in this secretive army unit. He talked about that hardly anybody knew about. Do you know what this is?
I don't know. That's but I believe him.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, the way those guys talk too, like they've got all the code words and everything, it's like, it's pretty cool to hear them talk.
Well, I was so he's interviewing a guy, Joe Kent, who's running for Senate. I forget where he's from. I think it's in the Midwest somewhere. So he was, I think it was Delta Force guy. Not sure, but he was a tier 1 guy, either Delta or Team 6. And his first deployment, they go into a building, and was a bad guy with an AK, and his officer, his whatever it was, I doesn't matter the rank, but his officer knocked the guy out with a punch, and he was like, "Why didn't you just light the guy up? He had an AK." He goes, and he said to him, he goes, "Well, the latch was up, and I knew he didn't. His hand was on the button. He wouldn't have time to get to it before I could knock him out." And he goes, "That's when I understood the difference between, how do you put it, seeing something and understanding something." Right. And he goes, I never thought that somebody could have that mindset in that environment where.
Think that quickly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk a little bit FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Mhm.
So they've been taking a lot of heat, both for their honesty and lack of proper preparation with the Trump issue and all that other kind of stuff. So now all of a sudden they've decided they're going to have a press conference saying that the Russian government and the Chinese government is interfering with our elections, which I kind of thought that was like a thing that's been going on for decades.
Well, and in addition to that, so here's the thing. As we all know, the field guys and field women are excellent.
Yes,
It's
yes.
the 7th floor. It's very political. Happens in the military. Generals start to become bureaucrats, and they lose sight of what they're really there for. It's unfortunate. It appears at least our FBI at the highest level is very partisan to the Democrats, and so this is what you're seeing. I do think, like going back to the 14-year-old kid, that they knew about him, they interviewed him, they interviewed the father, handed over to the locals, and then somewhere it got lost in the sauce. I think that's really what needs to be kind of shored down. That kind of stuff can't happen, especially now that there's so much potential for violence with terrorism, and you get people walking across the border taking over apartment buildings.
Right. I know. The guy had to sell that in Colorado. Yeah.
Yeah. It happened in Aurora. Apparently, it happened in Chicago. New York City now, 75%.
Hold on 1 sec.
I hear it. You know what you do, Tom? Get on the bullhorn. They're spraying.
Hey! But okay, so now all of a sudden the FBI has to make themselves look good, right? We're on top of the whole Russian situation, this Chinese thing. Now the latest was they said there's a guy up in Canada that was going to come down to New York and attack Jewish people.
Yeah, that's true. That's a Pakistani.
Well, how do we know it's true?
Well, I don't. But the story is he's 20-year-old kid, which he probably got radicalized if he did online. Yeah, I mean, look, with the volume of people that came across the border, I don't care if it's 1 million or 20 million. Some of those people are not good people. And
but I mean, this guy's
up
in Canada.
Yeah.
See, my point of this is now all of a sudden FBI wants to make it look like they're saving the world from these bad people when it's been proven they just don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, a lot with all the agencies that they do, I would think is for PR.
Yeah.
This is the way it is. I don't see it changing.
Yeah. You know what? It's nothing new. I find it kind of interesting that it kind of goes to me like the arrogance. Like, okay, do you really think and maybe most people aren't even bothered paying attention. I think there's a lot of people in the country who just screw them. I don't really care what they're doing, right? Yeah.
So like the whole thing with the assassination attempt. Turns out that there were some Secret Service, was also a lot of Homeland.
Yes, I saw that.
And their totality of executive protection education was a webinar, and they said a 2-hour webinar, and it's out half the time the thing kept shutting off.
Yeah.
And these are the people that you put to guard Donald Trump. So there's a lot of questions there.
I know, and I feel terrible about it because, like you said, the people, like these people are standing up, putting their bodies on the line to stand in between a potential shooter and Donald Trump at the time.
But no question.
The one poor woman who couldn't holster her weapon, I feel terrible for her, right? Because it's like she shouldn't have been there. She just wasn't qualified. Yeah.
So Eric Prince is a former SEAL, and he's the owner and founder of Blackwater, which is the world's probably the largest mercenary company. on the planet. They do a lot of HVT protection and stuff like that, and whatever. But he testified with Dan Bongino, who was a Secret Service agent, and he was also a Secret Service instructor. And again, we were talking about this last night. I said to Beth, I don't know why people think that the government is something like magic. They can do things better than the private sector.
I know. Well, good. That's an excellent point for you. I like that. Yeah.
You know, and they're run by bureaucrats that, like, for instance,
Yeah.
and again, I'm not going to pick on one party because they're both guilty of it. But like Pete Buttigieg, he's the Secretary of Transportation, has never worked in transportation 1 hour in his entire life.
Right.
He was known as Pothole Pete in South Bend, Indiana, where he was the mayor.
Right.
Because they couldn't fix the roads.
Oh.
So let's make him Secretary of Transportation.
Right.
And then you put Jennifer Granholm, Secretary of Energy, when she was questioned, what is our national gigawatt consumption here? She didn't know.
Yeah.
And then you have Raimondo, who was the Secretary of Commerce, when the numbers had to be revised and knocked down by almost 1 million on jobs growth. She said, oh, that's a Trump lie. And the CNN host said, no, your department just put those numbers out today.
Wow.
She's the leading person in the department. She didn't even know. So the point is, it's really bad. Something's got to change. And the thought that what did Ronald Reagan say? The most dangerous words are, we're from the government and we're here to help.
I know. Yeah. And that's the thing. We've gotten to the point where we think the government is designed to help us. It's really not designed to help us. Right. They're there to pass laws. Yeah. So we need to take better care of ourselves. What we need.
Exactly. Yeah.
How about I get a kick out of Kamala Harris where she does some town hall presentation and she starts with the accent. She's got like the southern.
I mean, Hillary did it too.
Did Hillary do it too?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you know, it's unfortunate, but it's really pandering. It's horribly pandering.
God.
You know.
Yeah.
This is a woman who her parents were professors, very highly educated people. She grew up in Montreal.
Did she really? Oh.
Yeah, she's born here. She's an American citizen, but I believe she even went to high school in Montreal.
Oh, okay.
Her parents were teaching up there. So this notion that all of a sudden, like Cory Booker here in New Jersey, they want to, you know, it's obvious who they're trying to attract, and they try to get streets, and it's comical. You know, it's really comical.
Yeah, because, and I could care less, but we think we've talked about this. She did a show with this woman, a cooking show, an Indian woman.
Right.
And beautiful woman. And they're bragging about how the fact that Kamala was a very proud Indian woman.
Her mother's.
Yeah. And I thought, okay, it's great. And then now she's all of a sudden so technically she is Indian. Her mother was Indian and her father was black. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, black,
Jamaican,
Afrocentric, because he's from Jamaica. I don't, you know, and even to have this discussion, I don't mean us, but nationally, it's so stupid. Who cares?
Well, the only thing is they're pushing it though. Like she wants to push, right?
Because what it does, it makes Trump a racist in their eyes. Yeah. And like mainstream media is so responsible for the division in this country now.
Oh yeah,
where
but they want that.
You know.
Yeah, they want to be divisive. They want it to be divisive. Yeah. Make some money. How about, so the debate tomorrow, correct? They're debating?
Correct. Yeah,
so it's no audience.
Right.
And the other person's mic is muted and they can't ask each other questions.
I don't know how exactly.
Yeah.
Look, here's the thing on that too. CNN's hosting it, so you know that they're really going to point.
Was it CNN or ABC?
Or ABC, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know, they're hosting it. They're very anti-Trump. I don't think it moves the needle either way, unless somebody really does really well or someone does really bad. People know who they're voting for right now. Either you're for Trump or you're against them.
I know.
And it doesn't matter who the other party's running. It's more about you're either voting for Trump or voting against Trump. You're not voting for Kamala. You're voting against Trump.
But here's the thing, and you know what? You're correct. It should not matter. I think there's a lot of people, though, that let it matter. When, to me, I'm with you. It should not matter at all. Like, these are canned speeches, canned answers. They're all paired. This isn't how they really think about things. Like Kamala Harris, all of a sudden, like she was the border czar and let millions of people cross the border. Now she wants to change all that.
Nothing to do with it. And it's pretty easy to see. It's political. But, you know, the whole division. And here's, personally for me, Tom, I went through my whole entire adult life till I was 60. And then I found out that my birth father was Cuban and Venezuelan. So my point is, I could have used that as some kind of but it doesn't move it doesn't change the calculus of who I am. I mean, guess what? Because I wasn't born in Cuba.
I know.
I wasn't born in Venezuela. I wasn't born in Holland. Although, you know why Dutch people wear wooden shoes? No, this is fact. It keeps the woodpeckers away from your head. But anyway, yeah, the whole.
Okay, think about woodpeckers. Like, why don't they get concussions? Woodpeckers.
Because they got a woodpecker.
But think of, actually, I did look. This was how bored I was one day. I actually looked that up. There was some, like, it built up like some callus or something in their, protect their brain, because you think they're constantly banging.
Yeah. You would think that's a good CTE study.
Yeah. No kidding. I used to do that in college. I think I was pretty tough. Like in our dorms, we had like these metal doors. And after several cocktails, I think it's a good idea to bang my head against the freaking door.
Yeah, I know some guys, Phil Russell, that like to do that as well. Yeah.
Kenny, you're speaking of your buddy Kenny Danico. I'm assuming this. Did you see the Ty Domi thing? Yeah. So anybody didn't see it, Ty Domi was on Facebook and he related this story, and I'm assuming it was true, where he was in a bar. It was rookie year. He's with the Rangers. They're in a bar in the city. They played the Devils. A lot of the Devils were in the same bar. Kenny Danico was there. He knew Messier, and Messier was like, "Hey, I got somebody that can beat you in an arm wrestle right over here." So supposedly Domi beat Kenny a few times. They beat him left-handed, beat him right-handed. So Kenny was, arguing, and now the ego's kicking in. He says, "Okay, let's have a headbutting contest."
And they did.
You know that story? Is that story true?
Oh, it's true. And Mess dated Kenny's, because they're both from Edmonton.
Oh.
Mess dated Kenny's older sister back in the day. So they've known each other for a long time.
Hey.
But Mess used to, like when New Jersey would play in New York, Mess would sneak into the visiting room and find Kenny's locker and put like a picture of a bodybuilder with these little skinny legs.
Is that Kenny's got the bag legs?
No, but like Mess is busting on him because Kenny was pretty jacked.
Oh yeah.
You know how some guys can be jacked and still have,
but hockey players don't have good calves and everything, though, right? We never used to
have calves.
Yeah.
I remember. So Dale Purinton, who was a pretty funny dude, but the room was real tight and in between periods, and some guys take their shin pads off and let their socks come down, and he's walking across the room to get a drink, and he looks down and he goes, "Somebody call the sheriff. Someone stole my calves."
How about the other one where somebody will tell you need to be careful around Thanksgiving? You look like a turkey.
Exactly.
The turkey legs.
My father said my legs were so skinny I should walk on my hands, or I should sue them for non-support.
How about the other one's like, be careful. Somebody's going to cut off your legs and use them as a table leg or something like that. Yeah.
You know what? And again, he was a pretty tough kid, but Matt Barnaby.
Yeah, he's got he's a trooper.
Really skinny legs. I mean,
really? Bad legs? Oh. Yeah, I know it is. Well, hockey players, it's because that stride, we really don't like extend the
because the impulsion's from your butt.
Right.
Like when you push off, that's your butt and hamstrings. That's why everybody skates.
Say that again. The impulsion? The impulsion?
Impulsion, yeah.
Oh man, that turns me on, I'll tell you.
Yeah, it's a big word. And then your quads are just for recovery to get your leg back under your body. Your calves really don't. And they're immobile too. They're in skates, so they really don't work. You're not jumping, where you see like a running back, his calves are like, you can see speed on a guy when the calves, how it's like a ball when it's way up high, like skinny ankles, but the calf muscles up here jacked up. Yeah. That's speed, man. That's pure speed. Yeah.
You know who I think I've always been like this, really gained a real respect for? The female sprinter from this year's Olympics. Her husband, her husband has he has two prosthetic legs, and he just won a gold medal in the Paralympics.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's a really cute girl too. And it was very emotional scene when she won her gold medal. She ran to him, and I didn't realize he had lost his legs.
Oh yeah, and I didn't know that. I remember that event, but I didn't know.
Yeah, it was really cool. He won the gold medal, so they're a cool couple. It's just I guess like you watch those guys run, and obviously it's years of training to get used to running with those prosthetic legs. But yeah, pretty cool stuff.
Oh yeah, really cool.
All right, so we've covered politics, shooting, mental health. You being an absolute like who else goes into the forest and says to his woman,
I'm gonna take a
I love it. I'm gonna break this rock. I'm gonna use my body to break the rock.
Yeah. So you can bring home a souvenir. She almost brought me home in a body bag.
And let's add something to no pain meds either with a cracked rib.
Yeah, crack rib number 9.
Rib number 9. So we know the exact number.
Yeah,
Is that near the top or bottom? Which order they go
right
in?
here in the middle, like right under your armpit, kind of.
So what is it? We have one more rib than women's do, right?
Yes.
And that's how Eve was developed. Like
Yep, they took the rib, Adam's rib.
Do we really believe that? So the theory is, so Adam. Okay, so hold on. So Adam was born first, or was here on the earth first, and then they took his rib and created Eve.
Correct.
Yeah. Huh, interesting.
Yeah.
So so these were the first 2 people on earth.
Right. And she had to eat the apple. Couldn't leave the apple alone, could you?
Right. So Eve ate the apple.
And that was it.
Right. And then everything went to hell.
Now it's, for me, 50 years of being a Jet fan and disappointment.
Right. And now we're stuck with either Donald Trump or Kamala Harris being
exactly
president.
This is our choice.
All because of Eve eating the
All
apple.
because of Eve. Yeah.
And did she have it? Like, there's just nothing else to eat. She just that she was told not
The
to eat.
snake talked her into it, and that's why we all have a fear of snakes now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is that
I don't
so,
like
like? Is it similar to like? There's some men have certain fetishes. Well, women do too when it comes sexually. So, but it's and people say, well, why do you have that fetish? Well, it's because I'm not supposed to do it.
Yeah, it's verboten. Yeah.
Right. So she ate the apple just because she was told not to do it.
Yeah. Well, or she was hungry.
Right.
Could have been just hungry.
That's Adam and Eve. Wow, that whole story. Okay, so what? But so is this a different theory then than Jesus and Mary, the Virgin
So there
Mary?
are no theories in religion, it's beliefs.
Beliefs.
Yeah.
So this is a different belief than the Virgin Mary and everything.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how that works.
Right.
Yeah.
So just imagine if we're at the hockey rink and some woman comes in and says, "I'm pregnant."
Yeah.
And then you start, "Oh, that's great." And you ask, "Well, who's the father?" You go, "Well, I'm a virgin. There is no father."
Well, I tell you, I'm not going to name names again, but some guys I grew up with that boxed with me. When one of them was getting married, the other guy went and he got a 9-month pregnant lady, and he paid her to go to the. Did I tell you this?
No.
So yeah, so they go to the church. You know, when the priest says, "If there's anyone now who thinks this wedding shouldn't go through, you stand." She stood up and goes, "Pete, don't go through this. Think of the baby." True story. Yeah, my friend.
There was one very famous, successful hockey player who was dating a girl who was pregnant, and the guys on the team were like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
And the guy goes, "Well, no, she's a virgin." And she had told him that she was rolling around in the sheets, the sperms in the sheets, and that's how she got pregnant.
And he bought it.
And he bought it. Yeah.
Okay, then.
Hockey players do not make the best decisions.
That's true. Yeah. That is very true. Very true.
God.
Yeah, that's a new one.
But I asked her, like, if the Virgin Mary walked into a hockey rink and you and I were there, and she told us that story, would we embrace her and say, "That's fantastic," or would we say, "Listen, we need to get you some help"?
We probably try to wheel her. You're a hockey player.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Terrible stuff.
Nothing
Terrible.
stops at least the first attempt.
All right. Well, so you've tried. So was there any damage done to the rock at all? Do you know?
You know, I did get a ticket from the ranger department there. Yeah, I got fined. Yeah.
Right.
For damaging, the earth.
I can't remember where I saw this. It might have been, Kevin Kaminsky. Remember him?
Yeah.
Tough little guy.
Yeah.
He posts a lot of stuff online, and I guess he was coaching at one point, and the coaches are required to wear helmets now on the ice. He was not. The lost Mark there for a second, but Mark, you there? Lost him. So I'll finish the story. Kevin Kaminsky, I guess, was on the ice. Told me couldn't coach without a helmet. He says, "Listen, guys, there's no problem. I won't sue you if I break the ice. I'll fix it," or whatever it was. So, great story. All right, we lost Mark. Everybody be safe. Again, everybody take care of each other. I guess this whole stuff down in Georgia really brings light to what we talk about a lot is the mental health situation. Make sure we take care of each other, not just young people, but obviously really shows how we need to take care of younger people. So everybody have a fantastic week. We'll see you next Monday.